Hey everyone, this is Andrew Hall. This is the Disappointed Cat Morning Show. We're going to cover a couple of stories this morning. One, Sam Harris. What are you going to do with Joe Rogan? We're going to get to Sam Harris in a second. We're also going to get to the magnetic doctor who got her license renewed in Ohio. And what's going on in Michigan? Nothing good. Before we start off, let's do something funny.
I was the first guy in high school to get his ear pierced, and I went to Claire's at the mall, and the girl at Claire's had never pierced a man's ear before, and suddenly she wasn't sure which side was the gay side, like one ear meant you were gay and the other side meant you were straight, and going into it, I thought that I was pretty sure which side was the gay side, but she's so unsure, I'm now questioning myself, and it's not like we could just look up the answer on our phones, because you have to remember it was the 90s. And now we're asking people who are just coming into Claire's at the mall, which ear means you're gay, and people had really strong opinions, and people were like, George Michael has his right ear pierced, and that means you're gay. Luckily, I pierced the left side, and that's the straight ear.
He's great. I just want to start everything off with, I don't know, maybe a suggestion, maybe some of my thoughts about Sam Harris and his latest podcast episode, Waking Up podcast. It's a good show under normal circumstances. And his recent episode was Ask Me Anything 18, and he spent a lot of time talking about conspiracies against the vaccine, and Joe Rogan's name came up a couple of times. And if you know Rogan, if you know, or you know their work, Harris and Rogan, they were tight at one point. Rogan has been on his show, vice versa. And from what I heard of Harris's latest podcast episode is that Professor Harris just doesn't know what to do with Joe Rogan, and Joe Rogan spreading misinformation about the vaccine. And it's a difficult position, right? Because Sam Harris knows that what Joe Rogan is doing is killing people, spreading misinformation about the vaccine and the virus, and making people less likely to get the vaccine. That's killing people. And, this is my suggestion, my humble suggestion, is that if you haven't reached out to Joe Rogan, Professor Harris, via private message, email, text, then of course that's the first thing to do, right? If you have a problem with someone, then the first thing you do is that you want to take care of it, not in public, but in private. Maybe you can sway the person's opinion. And if you've already done that, if you've already made attempts to reach out to him electronically, and that hasn't worked, perhaps you have to do an old-fashioned sit-down. Perhaps you should take him out to lunch. And I know Rogan's doesn't live near you, but the thing is that you have a relationship with him that could be beneficial in terms of changing Rogan's opinion, right? So, Professor Harris, my suggestion, my humble suggestion, is that you do a sit down. You just talk with him and let him know what you're afraid of. It's like, and how you're concerned. Me, if my friend was out there assisting in what amounts to manslaughter of potentially thousands of people because they don't get the vaccine, I wouldn't want my friend. I would be afraid for my friend. I would be afraid that they're going to have to carry that kind of burden with them for the rest of their lives. So that's my suggestion, Sam. Now that we've been talking with each other for the last 30 seconds to maybe a minute, and I feel like I can call you Sam, just sit down with Rogan and see if you can sway him a little bit. And if you are able to do that, then please touch base with him regularly, because what we know from the research is that once a person's opinion gets changed, it has a tendency of going back to the old position. And that's just how our brains work, unfortunately. All right, everyone. Let's get on to a news story. This in the news from the great state of Ohio, a magnetic doctor. Yes, we're going to talk about a magnetic doctor right here. Ohio Medical Board renews license of doctor who claims vaccines make you magnetic. The link is in the description below. Now, you would think that if there's a doctor obviously spreading misinformation, that they wouldn't be able to get their license renewed. Let's look into this story. They're forcing freedom-loving Americans to choose between injection of a deadly vaccine or testing those who will not comply via torturing them with nasal swabs, looking for a virus by some claims don't even exist. This claim, equal parts baseless and conspiratorial, appears on the website that solicited funds to the address of a business owned by Dr. Sherry Tenpenny, a state licensed doctor of osteopathic medicine. Her medical license, first issued in 1984, was set to expire October 1st. The State Medical Board of Ohio, which credentials physicians, renewed her license Thursday for another 2 years. You would have thought it would have been a great opportunity to take her medical license away, right? Because she's obviously a quack. Tenpenny drew nationwide media attention when, under the invitation from a Republican state lawmaker, she spoke to the Ohio House Health Committee and warned them that COVID-19 vaccines magnetize their recipients and interface with 5G towers. A federal judge has deemed her non-expert in a vaccine injury lawsuit. She is among the 12 most prolific disseminators of COVID-19 misinformation on social media, according to research from the Center of Countering Digital Hate. An anti-vaccine activist since the 2000s, Tenpenny has called vaccines a method of mass destruction and depopulation. She charges $623 for her boot camp to train people how to convince others to refrain from vaccination, and sells her book, Saying No to Vaccines, for $578 on Amazon. She sells a book for $578 on Amazon. State law allows the board, with the votes of at least 6 of the 12 members, to discipline any physician for making a false, fraudulent, deceptive, or misleading statement in relation to the practice of medicine. They have the power to do it. They just chose not to, everyone. This includes misrepresentation of facts that are likely to be misled, or includes representations or implications that, in reasonable probability, will cause an ordinarily prudent person to misunderstand or be deceived. Licenses expire on a 2-year basis. Jerica Stewart, a spokeswoman for the medical board, confirmed Tenpenny's license was renewed. She said to keep up with the 92,000 practitioners, the board automatically renews applications. Certain affirmative answers can trigger an automatic complaint stemming from an application, or the board can investigate a complaint or independently launch its own probe. She offered no comment on Tenpenny directly. So Ms. Stewart decided to say, I don't know. And just, no one wants to take responsibility. No one wants to pull the trigger on this woman. And she should be in jail. Not only should her medical license be taken away, but she should be in jail for spreading misinformation about a pandemic that's killing close to, what is it? What's the number? 2,000 Americans a day right now? 2,000 Americans today, a day, dying from COVID-19. And this grifter, this idiot, just got her medical license renewed. And what's Ohio? The Buckeye state? I don't know. Medical malpractice state, maybe? I don't know. What do you think, Microphone? Microphone thinks she should go to jail too. I happen to agree. Hey, I should mention right now that we're doing the open panel. It's a show at 10 a.m. Eastern. It's for atheists, humanists, political progressives. And if you want to be on the panel, the link is in the description below. And of course, the links to our stories, to the stories that are covered, are also in the description below. All right, Michigan. What's going on with Michigan? Father sues Michigan school after teacher cuts daughter's hair without permission. Sued for $1 million, alleges the school violated the girl's civil rights and racially and ethnically discriminated against her. I don't think the child looks like that right now. I think her hair got cut, and cut rather closely. Let's go into the story. Father of Michigan filed a $1 million lawsuit against staff at his daughter's school after the 7-year-old biracial girl hair was cut without her parents' permission. The lawsuit, filed on the 14th of September in federal court in Michigan by Jimmy Hoffmeyer on behalf of his daughter, Journey Hoffmeyer, names as defendants Mount Pleasant Public Schools, a librarian, and a teacher's assistant. Among 8 counts, the suit alleges the school violated the girl's civil rights and racially and ethnically discriminated against her, reported MLive, a Michigan news outlet. Hoffmeyer, who was black, said his daughter's hair was cut by a fellow student on a school bus in March. Hoffmeyer took his daughter to a hairdresser to correct the uneven chop. Days later, he said nearly all of his daughter's hair had been cut, this time by school staff who were white. I'm intrigued to find out what happened to the kid who cut the hair on the bus, right? I would have thought that maybe the kid got maybe a suspension off the bus, or maybe some kind of conversation with the kid's parents, but that's besides the point, everyone. The thing is, you don't cut a kid's hair. If you're a teacher, a librarian, a teacher's assistant, that's not your job. That is not your job to do. I asked what happened and said, I thought I told you no child should ever cut your hair, Hoffmeyer told the Associated Press. But she said, but Dad, it was the teacher. The teacher cut her hair to even it out. The librarian, possibly the help with a teaching assistant, cut Journey's hair, leaving only a few inches. Hoffmeyer's lawsuit alleges the school district failed to properly train, monitor, direct, discipline, and supervise their employees, and knew or should have known that the employees would engage in the conflict. And I'm going to say that again, I'm talking in tongues, everyone. Should have known that the employees would engage in the complaint of the behavior given the improper training, customs, procedures, and policies, and the lack of discipline that existed for employees. In July, the Mount Pleasant Public Schools Board of Education said the teacher who cut the hair was still employed but had been reprimanded. I don't know what reprimanded means. They got some kind of write-up in their file, some kind of punishment. I don't know, but there was a reprimanding. An independent investigation, it said, found no evidence the incident was motivated by racial bias. Well, you know, the thing is, I would be curious about who made up the independent investigation. I wonder how diverse the panel was for that. But while a teacher had good intentions, the board said, cutting a student's hair without parental permission or the school's knowledge was a violation of policy. The teacher was put on a last chance agreement and would probably be terminated you hear that, everyone? Probably be terminated if they violated another school policy, school officials said. So the teacher put hands on a child and sheared them for all intents and purposes. Is that worth getting fired for? If someone laid a hand on my kids to cut their hair or otherwise, I think I'd be upset about it. That's what I think. I think I'd be pretty upset about it, especially if I thought it was racially motivated. Other employees who knew about the incident but did not report it have apologized. Well, they should be punished too. Hoffmeyer's attorney called the incident and the school's response unacceptable. Indeed, it sounds like the teacher who cut the child's hair was given a slap on the wrist, a reprimand, and probably, perhaps, if they do something else, they might get fired. And the people who knew about it and didn't report it, they should be in trouble too. They should be in trouble too. Would they? I don't know. Do you think $1 million? Do you think the lawsuit's out of control, everyone? Do you think the father has a right, or should the father be angry? I think he should be angry. But what do you think? All right. What have we covered in this 15, 20 minutes of the show? Oh, we talked a little bit about Sam Harris and Joe Rogan. Please, Sam Harris, sit down with Joe Rogan and just try to talk to him. And then, if you're able to sway his opinion, then just check in with him every once in a while to help guide him. We also talked about the doctor, the doctor who said the vaccines make you magnetic. She just got her license renewed. And the last story we talked about was a biracial girl, 7-year-old girl, who got her hair cut by a teacher and a librarian and a teaching assistant. How crazy is that? I still think someone should have got fired out of that. But maybe is that too strong? Is it too strong to say that someone should have gotten fired out of that interaction, out of, someone cutting your child's hair without permission? I don't know. Throw your comments in the chat. And I'm going to see you at 10 a.m. hopefully for the after party after show. Let's do something funny right here, right now, everyone.
Everything you're doing is making me want to slap the living shit out of you right now. But I'm more mature, more than I've been normally, so I'll shake your hand and then I'll bite you down.
That was great. That was great. So yeah, you'll notice too. Oh, I should ask you now to please hit the like button and please subscribe if you haven't. And you'll notice that there are no ads on this channel. So thank you, YouTube members. Thank you, patrons. Thank you for those of you who do throw some pennies, some dollars into my Venmo or PayPal. This is the first time I've done one of these shows, by the way. Usually I do it live from 9 to 10, but today, of course, is the first day of my new job. And so the new format is that I'm going to be dropping one of these videos at 9 a.m. and then doing the open room at 10. I'm going to drop a video to thank patrons and YouTube members right now. And I'll see you at 10 o'clock, everyone. Take care.